Interesting. We're now going to go for on a slower speed though. Let's bring it down to half. Go back to a relevancy action. So once again, Tannock seems to be the faction.
Strike group moving into position.
Oh, this is going to be awful to listen to. Turn it down. There we go. That's a bit better. So again, customizable battle cruiser. We're seeing very few squadrons. Which, as I mentioned on Discord, I suspect that the hangar upgrades spawn those automatically, so it's a fixed amount of squadrons you get based on those. I really hope there's more than one playable faction. Yeah, there's the missiles or torpedoes going up there from the carrier. I do wonder, I mean, people have been saying that the allies may be Taidan Republic. It's possible that the faction we're dealing with here are like a combined remnant. So like Taidan and what was the name of the pirates? What was the name of the goddamn pirates? Tyrannic. So you've got Taidan remnant along with the Tyrannic Raiders, which have formed this new faction, the Tannock, which could full well be the case. Is there anything else? I don't think there was anything else mentioned in the trailer, and I'm pretty sure this is being done in-house by Gearbox, so it's probably going to be the same. So 1 second, that changes there. So it starts off, so yeah, Battlecruiser Tier 1. Again, that's weird. Is that a destroyer there? That looks like it might be a destroyer. Yes, I'm guessing that was a destroyer. So 1 frigate, 1 destroyer, 2 sets of interceptors. But yeah, the style of the game seems to be like you dispatch a combat group to deal with each mission. So that is led by a capital ship, and then it has an escort fleet, which is probably based on the lead the lead ship's allowance. So if I were to guess, the idea is that a battle cruiser allows you to bring a larger escort, such as a battle cruiser, but you sacrifice your strike fighters. Excuse me, because you're not taking corvettes. You're not able to launch as many. At a guess. But I also expect that the battle cruiser is going to carry more weight. So let's go through here one more time. And shockingly, Last Rites didn't manage to make it. What a shock.
Strike group moving into position.
So again, going down to the actual carrier, you saw more strike fighters.
Heading banged around here. Weapon set to full power.
Well, I mean, all games that you play on mobile are very heavy on power. All of them. It's kind of to be expected, but the games are generally designed around small dosage of use. Probably my biggest concerns here is the gameplay loop being a bit limited. Because, like I say, the way I expected it's going to be literally like, here's a series of missions you can jump off onto, and then bam bam. What is it? I think it's called BlueStacks to emulate on mobile games on PC. I think that's one of them anyway. BlueStacks, pretty sure. So yeah, emulation of mobile games is actually quite easy on PC. So if you're like, I need me some Homeworld action, you can always just do that. But you know, for me, I'm fortunately, having had some experience with mobile games, I'm looking at what's this game's economy going to be? How do they plan to make money off of it? So my guesses are limited launches per day. So like you've got to wait to be able to launch additional missions. Kind of reining in how much gameplay you can do unless you're willing to pay for extra. Um, that would probably be really annoying. Um, so, I mean, it's quite possible they might make it so that each combat group you put together has like limited deployments or something like that. They may make it so the amount of rewards you can actually haul back or jumps. Also, it might be a case of paying for better ships or to accelerate advancement. No, not like a puzzle game. The idea would be that. So, if they want to keep the vibe of Homeworld, it is going to be that you are dealing with an invasion. You're trying to go out and try and mitigate the damage that's being done. So, you're trying to deal with as many problem zones as possible. And yeah, and then you've got stamina to deal with. How far you can take your fleets, how far they can jump in a given day. So you can only get them to so many engagements, and then they've got to go into a refueling state. If they do that, like I say, the ways they could do it is that it might be that you pay for extra fuel so you can do more battles in a day. It might be that you pay so you can have additional combat fleets, because then they can do additional missions and stuff like that. And again, it could be, as you saw, there are definitely tiers. It only showed tier 1 units here, but you might find, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, tier 5, and getting to those higher tiers, you could pay to get those advancements, get there quicker. My concern is, because it looks very much like a PvE game, is that the gameplay loop becomes a bit monotonous. You just find the optimal combat fleet for most situations and just splat them, and then you put the game down, and then you do it again tomorrow. And how long are you really going to want to do that? The reason I keep going back to CNC Rivals is I can get into a match within, a minute, and then kick someone's ass within 3 to 5 minutes, and that during my day is rather satisfying. The problem will be balancing PvP, especially with pre-made fleets. I don't think they announced diddly squat, and all that this shows is PvE. Having PvE and PvP is highly possible, but like I say, I expect that PvP will be very much dominated by whales. I mean, if you're able to rock in reliably with a tier 5 fleet and splat someone, no amount of skill going to get you out of that. Even on CNC Rivals, the way they handled that is they tried to use their ELO system so that if you're a really skilled player, you'll go up against less skilled players with higher level units. They then mitigate the disadvantage, the actual functional disadvantage, by ensuring that if there is a certain level of difference, where it becomes to the point where even if there are more on, as long as they attack the right kinds of targets, they'll stomp you. That you have no penalty for defeat. So it becomes a case of even if you lose in those scenarios, you don't lose anything, and they get to feel like, yay, I won a match. For me, though, on that game, I've got a sufficiently leveled up and quite potent deck of units that I don't get in those situations where I'm out overpowered anymore. So I like I say, I've got like 92% win rate, which feels good. Jump on there, kick someone's ass, get my score. And I've not put money into the game, so yeah, works for me. And again, the interesting thing there is, because it's deck based, you can only select 6 units. Although my deck doesn't change, the enemies I face do. So it keeps some variety there. And again, the satisfaction of beating the crap out of an actual person feels pretty good. We'll see on this. We'll see. I'm wondering how many tiers there'll be, how they'll run a PvP if it's there. Story-wise, I expect they'll keep it very much like that you're just on the defensive, holding the line. They may even base it as being during Homeworld 2 and that you're part of the defense fleet, holding the line while the mothership's heading off and doing all of its campaign-related shenanigans. We shall see. Let's watch for it one more time for the sake of, though. For those who haven't been paying attention.
Complete.
So, battle cruiser fleet has a destroyer.
Strike group moving into position.
Carrier fleet has extra strike craft.
I've taken a hit.
Fighting against the Tannock. Customizable capital ships. Interesting new enemy designs and ally designs, I might add.
Weapon set to full power.
See, now tier-based PvP sounds like a good idea, but there's a very big difference between when you're freshly in tier 2 and when you're at the end of tier 2. There can be a substantial difference in the quality of the same tier. Because what defines tier 2? Looking at it, it's the chassis. So you have a tier 1 battlecruiser and then you have a tier 2 battlecruiser. How well equipped those battlecruisers is can vary heavily. I also wouldn't be surprised if the tiers also changed the escort group limit. So you may find that when you get up to, say, if we're going to pretend there is a tier 3, it changes the number of escorts you can take. So you can instead take 2 destroyers. Or it might just increase the number of command slots you have. So it's just you're able to put in extra sort of command control, like fire control is actually to increase the number of units you're able to have rather than a buff to the effectiveness of the units you have. But again, it's hard to say exactly what way they're going to go, but again, to me it looks like upgradable capital ship, and then you upgrade it, which then unlocks, your strike craft or other escorts. But don't expect to be building units in mission by the looks of things. All of that will be part of the strategic layer by the looks of it. Actually, that's something we didn't talk about. I did notice, if you look here, you'll notice combat view, star system, galaxy view. So, yeah. Ooh, combat view auto off. Right, so combat can be resolved automatically. You don't actually... This is an optional control component. Not sure how to feel about that. Something to consider. Is that a time limit on the mission? Defend against incoming waves, so you've got to last for 2 minutes 7 seconds. 3 different icon types. Yeah, so this is your overview of what's on the field, and then these are the 3 different types. So hostile, allies, and I presume that's neutral, so you can filter out what you're dealing with. So I'm guessing this would be for mission-related objects. Might also be for precursors, or if there is actually another hostile force separate from your actual enemies. So if you had a 3-way battle going on, yellow is another hostile type.
Moving into position. I've taken a hit.
I don't like the way... So, strikecraft in this are obviously very limited. So all they do is kind of swoop in and then fire out volley of shots and do some damage. The benefit of corvettes seems to be that they can fire in all directions rather than just straight ahead.
Getting banged around here.
What class of ship would I have said that is? I'd say that's probably a destroyer. So that's their destroyer tier. This is their carrier.
Getting banged around here.
Do we think that's Taidan Republic? Probably, but I don't like it. It's not really what I would have expected from Taidan Republic. Also, don't like the idea of there being this massive chassis, and then there's just these, little pew pew lasers in the middle. Just doesn't quite work for me. I mean, it's an interesting design. It looks unique, but it just doesn't make sense in my brain. If the like Mohawk section here was doing something, I might. I mean, maybe that's meant to be the bridge section. It's got a command antenna coming out of it. Maybe. But there's a very weird bridge section. Looks like the sort of thing that would just eat a lot of fire.
Weapon set to full power.
It's not that bad. I quite like those ship designs. You should.
Horrible.
Well, it probably is. You're looking at Ruby Weapon. I don't know what you
It's not
expect.
Ruby Weapon anymore.
Do not spoil me on that fight, or I will be really upset. Also, I do agree that the lasers coming out there do look like. So I'm guessing it might be a Lance Corvette of some form. See, like these Tannock vessels are so bulky, it's kind of difficult to gauge what class they are. It's like, yeah, these to me, these larger ships are definitely destroyers. And these to me look like corvettes. I could be wrong though. The blue stripe ship is actually a Tyrannic? What do you mean? You're gonna have to enlighten me here. Are you trying to imply that the idea is that the Tyrannic Raiders are now an allied faction?
I've taken a hit. Getting banged around here.
Because again, to me, like the most likely culprit for these guys is that they're Taidan Republic. Also, unit behavior. Are these frigates actually? Because based on how the strike craft move, these are moving like frigates. Destroy enemies. There's nothing in the overview to actually identify what this is, which has been done intentionally. They've actually closed it. But this looks to be a Tannock destroyer. See, these up here are frigates. This is obviously bigger than the frigates. So that to me is destroyer class. So Tannock, sorry, you must have missed it, Sarah. If we go back to the beginning, you will see the enemy is identified as being Tannock. Look at it. Tannock Assault Frigate, Tannock Assault Frigate, Tannock Interceptor. Yes, we have a faction name for these bastards. So yes, the enemy faction, Tannock. We have a name.
I've taken a hit.
But if you notice, the strike craft in this have got very much set maneuvering patterns. They fly forwards, they do burst. It's only the larger ships, so you've got the two frigates there. I'm certain this destroyer class, based on the way how much bigger it is than the frigate. It's possible that it's going by the whole pirate rule of they're bigger, chunkier, and weaker, but it's hard to say. Now, based on what I've just said about the behaviours, that would mean these are definitely frigates. So these might be some kind of lance frigate as an alternative to Ion, where instead of doing a one solid beam, they do these sort of rapid fire pulses instead, which is funky. But yeah, my money is that these are frigates.
Weapon set to full power.
So yes. So if you were looking for information, there's no guarantee there is no Tyrannosaurus, but the enemies that they are pushing in the trailer are Tannoc. It's entirely possible that's an evolution of the Tyrannic faction, but for now we actually do have a name, Tannoc. And we have some idea as to what to expect from mission structure. So, yes. I don't think there's anything else for me to cover. I think I've managed to pick out as much little tidbits of information they've left for us. Someone who's going to go through this thing frame by frame might spot something else. But, yeah. As it stands, so Strikecraft are super simple. They seem to be kind of like a throwaway deployable from your capital ship. The mission structure is based around a central capital ship, so a carrier or battle cruiser, and then that brings an escort fleet with it for the duration of the mission. Doesn't look like you can build any new units once you're on mission, and that the squadron strike fighters are spawned via your hangars, essentially. It might be possible that the way the carriers actually work is they are able to reproduce their squadrons, so you might have it like you send a battle cruiser and that's big chonky boy, extra strong, but his squadrons are just what they brought with them, so you get those two squadrons, no more, whereas the carriers, it might be, they go out, they die, and you can actually replace them in mission, but hard to say. I think I've gotten about as much information as I can from it, but it is obvious to me that you can arm your carriers with dual ion cannons and torpedoes and missiles, so very interesting. But yeah, I do agree it could be a Vega warlord has taken what's left of the Tyrannics and turned them into the Tannoc fleets. The carrier does remind me a lot of the Vega carrier, although it does seem to have been chunked out a bit and changed. I'd say it probably got a bit more personality. The Vega carriers do seem a bit anemic. They're a bit like, we have no size. Very small boys. But yes, thank you for joining me. You can thank Last Rites, but you can also blame the long wait on getting started on the fact that he is late. Stupid boy. But yes, thank you very much for joining me. Hope you enjoyed. Let me know in Discord whether you want me to bother putting it on YouTube. I don't see much point. But yeah. Tannoc, I like the look of them. I would like to see more, and I hope they're a playable faction and not just like the bad guys that you blow up. Thank you very much for joining me. Take care.